All right, everybody, welcome back to the Hanging with the Hoopers podcast. And today it is just yours truly, Andrew Hooper. Tim is somewhere out in the wild west of title sales, helping a team somewhere. But I'm thrilled and honored to be joined by Tyler Adams from CertifID. And Tyler, welcome to the podcast. We're talking Energize, we're talking CertifID, we're talking your journey today. So thanks for being here, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Where are you sitting in the world today?
I am here at our headquarter location in Austin, Texas.
I have wanted to get down there for quite a bit of time.
Gotta come, man. You're welcome anytime. Come check it out.
Austin has an interesting history for me. There's a song out there that says all my exes live in Texas. You know that one? kidding a little bit. But no, I do love Austin. But yeah, it'd be great to get down there sometime. I love it. I'm up here, meanwhile, with snow melting off the ground today out here in Maryland.
Yeah,
so
no snow. Actually, quite beautiful day here. Not to rub it in, but you can call me in July and you can rub it in.
Well, tis the way it goes, right? We all choose where we want to be. And I definitely thought about living in Texas at one point, but never pulled the trigger. At that point, it would have been me coming from California to Texas. The people in Texas were like, please, no more. Because
way too cliche. You'd have to make up where you were coming from. You can't admit to that.
Exactly. Can't be California. So getting into it, man, CertifID, I know this is our kind of yours and my first time really meeting and talking together, right? We've been passing in the industry for a long time. But overall, CertifID has just been an excellent partner to all of our title agents in the region, and the resources, obviously the core product of fraud prevention, wire fraud prevention, and everything that you do. But before we get into some of that, would love for you just to give your background. Like, how did you fall into the real estate space, real estate services, wire fraud prevention, and everything you're doing now? What's your background? Share with the group.
Sure. Let's take it back. So I actually started my career in technology and operations consulting. So I was helping large Fortune 500 businesses come up with ways to improve their operations, improve their workflow, streamline their businesses through technology. That then led to a stint at Boston Consulting Group's digital venture team.
Okay.
And that team had like a slight spin to it, which wasn't just implementation of technology, but we actually helped to co-develop technology with our clients, where we would work with them. We'd understand what are their greatest assets, what are their biggest challenges, what are growth areas that they have opportunities in that they haven't found a way to go after or exploit. And we would put a team of high-powered consultants together, and we'd put a team of the best and brightest individuals from within their organization, and we would all work together in these like 90-day sprints in Manhattan Beach. And I was fortunate enough to have the opportunity where actually First American was a large client. And when First American came in as a client of BCG, I always like to say that First American paid for my my MBA in title insurance. And they came and they said, look, like, we feel like the industry is going to go through a change. We're not quite sure how to evolve and take advantage of it as technology becomes more critical in the user experience for buyers, sellers, real estate agents.
Right.
And over the course of what turned out to be a year and a half journey with them, I helped lead and develop the development of Endpoint. So if you're familiar at all with Endpoint, Endpoint was born out of the incubator of BCG Digital Ventures in partnership with First American. Okay. And that product came to market. They ended up commercializing it under direct ownership of First American. And that was really meant to help create a digital first experience for title insurance that real estate agents could offer. Now, during that time, what was really interesting is that I learned just a ton about title insurance. Yep. But one of the areas that we found a opportunity in was actually fraud. As we looked at all of the data, as First American was sharing all of this information about their business with us, there was like this thing that kept popping up, which was like, hey, have you guys experienced fraud? Like, we're noticing some conversations when things are happening. Well, at the same time that I was trying to understand that problem and issue from their perspective, my good friend and eventual business partner, Tom Cronkite, called me and said, we just had this wire fraud at my title company. And Tom and I actually had been partners in previous life when I was a consultant before the whole BCG portion, and in his life before title. And
Yep.
he called me and said, I got this fraud problem. We just lost $200,000 to a fraudster and we've got to solve it. And I can't find a solution to do it. He goes, I want to hire BCG to help me solve this problem. And I said, well, Tom, unfortunately, I don't think you can afford BCG's rates for solving this problem for you. But I said, it is a real problem. And First American actually identified it as part of our research with them.
Yeah.
And what was super interesting for me and like a really big pivot point in my career and kind of this journey was that here I had been helping large Fortune 500 build technology from a real point of I want to build something to make more money, to generate more revenue, to grow a business. And I had Tom as a entrepreneur and business owner that was like, I want to solve this problem because it's life or death. Like, and if we don't solve this problem, I won't be in business. This isn't about making more money. This is about protecting my business, protecting my clients, protecting my customers.
Right.
And that is the type of passion and conviction and drive that I just believe every startup has to have in order to be successful. And we ultimately decided that we wanted to band together and go solve this problem because it wasn't big enough or hairy enough for First American at the time. They wanted to chase something different, and Endpoint is where Endpoint is.
Yep.
And Tom and I said, let's go chase this problem. Let's go try to solve fraud. And it was definitely the riskier of the two paths to take at the time and had a lot less security and assurances attached to it. But Tom and I just had the conviction that this was going to be a problem that only got worse and that no one else had really jumped in to try to solve it. So we should go
Yeah.
try to solve it together. But if it hadn't been for that consulting engagement, that was just sort of serendipitously, part of my career journey. I wouldn't have had like the rich industry expertise and understanding of how title worked and who the
Yep.
players were. And so
Yep.
it's funny how these sorts of things happen in life, but
Yeah.
that's how I got here.
We all tend to fall into certain spaces by accident, but on purpose, right? Like there's something to that for sure. But how funny that your hindsight now is 2020 on that move with Tom of wow, like this thing has exploded in the last decade, right? What year was it when you had like a viable product and you launched? Like how long has Certified
Yeah.
been?
So Tom's fraud happened in 2015. So 10
Okay.
years ago, he lost, $180,000 on what was supposed to be a seller net proceeds wire that ended up going to a fraudster.
Yeah.
It took the better part of like 2 years of us, a year and a half, I guess, of us just talking and assessing, and me like, is this
Yeah.
real or is this just a one-off thing that happened? Are we sure everyone's going to have this problem? Do we really think it's going to get worse? And so it really wasn't until 2018 that we went to our very first ALTA event, and we had a prototype and some t-shirts that said certified. And we were out there kind of pitching this idea in 2018, and then it evolved from there.
Yeah. Well, and you're now you set the standard and leading the industry in fraud prevention. And it's interesting that I think fraud has always been a huge part of this industry and a built-in kind of risk factor, if you will, right? Like as underwriters, here at FNF, we're always out with our agents questioning what's your process, your dual controls, your contingencies. Like it's shocking to me how many people still don't utilize a third party vendor such as Certify
Yeah.
to handle and offload some of that risk and honestly the great product that it is to just overall prevent the risk because people believe in the process until it's not good enough anymore. But it was funny when you were talking about Tom, like it's the reality for a lot of title company owners out there that if one massive claim hits their business that's not able to be recouped somehow, that could be the end of your business,
Well, for
the
sure.
end of your dream.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, like our journey is sort of synonymous to where I think the industry is in general, given that we are leading the charge here. And the first couple of years were painful. I mean, crickets, nobody thought this was a problem that could happen to them. And this was 2018 to 2020, 2021. Like, I'm not going to pay $1. I send wiring instructions in email. Why would I do anything to stop that process? We're totally fine. We're okay. Then
Yeah.
you started to see, some early adopters. And unfortunately, the early adopters were all people that had recently been hit with fraud.
Yeah.
And it actually
It's like, I wish I should have done it sooner kind of idea. Yeah.
well, exactly. No one wanted to take the multivitamin to prevent the disease. They wanted the Advil once they had the pain, right? Like that
Right.
was, and
Right.
that's natural. I'm not saying that
Yeah.
like that
Hey,
that
human
is
nature. Yeah, for sure.
totally. But then I think we started to see more and more, stories and people being confident enough to say, no, this did happen to me and this thing
Yeah.
is happening. And if you should do something about it, because I wish I did. And I think
Yeah.
as that started to get more limelight and people were sharing these shared experiences that are like very painful. I mean, anyone who's gone through one of these fraud experiences, it is a top 5 core memory, not
Yeah.
not a good one, but it's
Yeah.
definitely a core memory because
Yeah.
of the pit in the stomach that it creates immediately and the ruin that it can cause. And so I'd say though that as much as there are still a lot of companies that don't have these solutions, we're definitely into a faster maturity curve of people recognizing the need and adoption for it. And they're also starting to see the sophistication of tools like ours that aren't
Yeah.
just a security solution anymore. We're actually making your workflow faster, better, and more secure. And I think once they're starting to recognize that, it's like, oh, wait, hold on. Why would I live without this? Um, and I'd say the final thing is that like I actually believe that from an underwriter perspective, there was a while that underwriters were nervous of, well, do I tell them they have to do this? If I tell them, but another underwriter doesn't tell them, like, are they just going to go someplace else? There was issues where big
Yeah.
agents might have had a fraud, and then the underwriter helped bail them out because they didn't want to lose that business long term, and they felt like maybe this was a little bit of my responsibility. Like those days seem to be gone. Like every underwriter I talk to ever is like, you need to put something in the workflow. We're not bailing anybody out. We're not going to help you if this happens anymore. Like
Yeah.
it is a well-known problem and there are solutions to solve it. So like that's on
Yeah.
you if you're not making that decision. And just to cap that, I'd take it one step further to say that I think that we're entering a time and space where there's actually a level of negligence that could be pleaded for an agent that's not doing something with technology to prevent this type of fraud because of how many are.
Hmm.
And for a
Yeah.
while, you could have argued that like you were in the majority, but I actually think that that scale has now started to tip that
Yeah.
if you're not utilizing it, you could be seen as being negligent to your clients.
Yeah. And 100%. And I think we're continuing to sound not the alarm. I mean, everyone, it's there. Like the alarm's sounding all the time around wire fraud and fraud in general, any type of fraud surrounding the real estate transaction. Um, But I always tell company owners, it behooves you to offload risk. It behooves you to change your process, because if you've had the same process for too long, you allow the fraudsters out there with the assist of AI now and the fraud for hire that's out there, sophisticated criminals, because of the dollar amounts attached to real estate transactions, that will figure out how to penetrate your system. And so it's a no brainer, truly. Now, kind of pivoting into the company that you've grown, and your team is absolutely incredible and working with a lot of awesome people out in the field and all this, but kind of focusing on your growth as a leader and growing a team and growing a company, what would you say has been one of your biggest learnings, takeaways, ahas as a leader, as you've really grown this thing from t-shirts with a prototype to now? I mean, how many employees? I'm assuming, I don't even know how many employees that you've
Yeah,
grown it.
we're at about 135 right now.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So leadership lessons along the way, man. What have you learned that's valuable for listeners?
Yeah, look, I mean, this business is one that I've had to be prepared, and every leader faces this in terms of like the hardest problems roll uphill, and that's what you end up working on. But when you work in fraud prevention, you're gonna get some scary phone calls pretty regularly,
Right.
both from issues that we're seeing, attempted frauds, people that have been hit. And I think that I've had to, what's the saying that like, there's never been no great sailor without like rough seas, right?
Right,
Like
exactly. Yeah, you got to
it
go through the rough seas to become a great sailor.
totally, totally. And so I think that there's been a lot of that for me. And when I started this business, I'll be the first to admit with Tom, like I was a young, naive, like wanted to build a great business, wanted to solve a big problem,
Yeah,
but could have never. And I think you have to have some of that naivete to not know what's coming in
to
terms
have
of
the
the
vision, right?
challenges.
Yeah,
Totally,
you
totally.
can't limit
But
yourself with a, this can't be done mentality as an entrepreneur, right? It's all
yeah,
possible.
yeah.
So,
I
yeah,
think the biggest ones for me though as a leader is like kind of three things. I think I've learned just the importance of trust. You know, I always say like business moves at the speed of trust. That's both internally and externally. Like I fight vigorously for our brand reputation, our company's reputation, have a really high bar for the people that work at Certified in all of their interactions, internally and externally. And like we've just created a culture around that, and that snowballs, right? Like if you can keep that, then it can continue to grow. And trust is just so important. And it's, you know, in a world also where we're fighting fraud, that's the thing that
yeah,
we're fighting against is a lack of trust. The fact that you think you know the person on the other end of the line and you don't. And
right.
so we talk a lot about trust and just how important it is as an organization and being able to continue to develop it.
Yeah,
um, I think the other one is just curiosity. Like, how can we keep staying curious? And this too has a lens towards fraud in the sense that we believe that like the best cultures, we always say, are cultures of curiosity where they're willing to question something, they're willing to slow down, they're willing to ask more questions.
mm,
And I think that, you know, that level of curiosity as a business is, and as a leader is saying like, how could we do this differently? How could we do this better? How could we have stopped this fraudster? How could we have won that next opportunity with somebody? Like, just be curious
yeah,
and ask a lot of questions. And then I think the last one is like, you have to know when to shut up and you got to listen. And listening is just so, so important as a leader. I think that there's a lot of folks out there that will talk and talk and talk and sell and sell and sell and do anything that they can to kind of like move to the next thing and promise that they're going to offer this feature or that feature and this and that. And like, you just got to listen. And you got to
mm,
listen to what your customers actually need. You got to listen to what your team needs. You got to listen sometimes to yourself, like, and talk to yourself and say, like, how do I slow this thing down and listen to the
yep,
signals that my business is giving me, my team is giving me, my customers are giving me, the market is giving me. And we just live in like such a fast paced world that I just don't think that enough people take time to like slow down and really listen and then make good sound decisions and judgments. So yeah,
yeah.
trust, curiosity, and trying to keep your ears open and honest as much as possible is sort of the foundation that I use as a leader.
Yeah, Tyler, I love that, and I think you hit the nail on the head. From building a trustworthy organization, a trust is a sum of delivering on things you say you're going to do and keeping your word and all of those things, as we all know. But, building that in the team, and when it comes to the feedback you get, and I was talking to another business owner earlier today around the same kind of idea that you'll get feedback from people, and sometimes it's critical, right? You'll get vendors, partners, team, right? As a leader, sometimes it's critical feedback. Sometimes it's like, hey, it's a criticism of the product. Sometimes it's a, hey, if you could do this, it would be better. And over the years, a trap I've seen so many leaders fall into is kind of being in their own echo chamber, right? Where they're not really, they have the vision, they have the best ideas. And if they don't, they feel like it kind of undermines them, right? And I think
Yeah,
the strongest leaders understand that. I think Jeff Bezos said it. You want to hire people that are all a lot smarter than you, right? And have better ideas than I have, right? So I love that you live that out, and it's apparent, right, in the brand you've built with Certified and coming to market, and all the clients that use you that we interact with on a daily basis as an underwriter. It's apparent you've built that brand, and so congratulations to you on that.
yeah,
It's,
no,
it's
appreciate it. Look, it's not
yeah,
easy. Like you have to develop in this space. You got to develop great technology first and foremost, but like that's not enough. We invest heavily in our customer success teams and our support teams and the people that are going to help you learn how to use the software, answer questions when you have that, and like all of those little interactions really matter. And that's what builds a brand.
Yeah. Well, the reason you're on today is because you and your company are once again sponsoring FNF's Energize conference here in the Mid Atlantic, both Maryland and Virginia. So thank you for that. Um, what keeps you all coming back to Energize and FNF and sponsoring and showing up for this in the, I know you're not going to be there in person, but
Yeah.
the cold of January.
Yeah, I'm bummed to miss it myself. Unfortunately this year conflicts with our sales kickoff, but we got a number of folks that are going to be there. And anyone who works at Certified and on my team knows that Monday is my favorite day of the week. I just believe that if you can like wake up and kick ass on a Monday, that's how you accomplish great
Sets the
things.
tone, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
every single week. Like I
absolutely.
look forward to Mondays. It might be because I have 3 small kids and like the weekends are a little bit chaotic. But from a business perspective, if you can hit the ground running on a Monday, like you can crush it.
Yeah.
I love that you guys host this conference in January because January is the Monday of the year. This is like
Yep.
where everyone has set their new goals, everybody has set their New Year's resolutions. And I feel like you guys do such a great job. Even the branding around Energize, it's like, let's bring the energy, let's get started, let's set the tone for what this year is going to mean. And as a leader and someone who has to like push a team to close the year really hard, it always feels sometimes disingenuous to be like, okay, great, the year's over. Now we got to spin it up and go. But that's the nature of this beast.
It
Like,
is.
that's how
Yeah.
we all have to operate. And I just love that you guys have sort of planted your flag to say, we're going to be the ones that bring you all together. We're going to get you energized and we're going to push you into a great start to the year. And that's just like so ingrained in me and my mantra, and probably why our conferences this year are overlapping because I'm going to be trying to do the same with
Same
my
deal.
team.
Yeah.
There at the end of January, but that's part of it. Obviously, y'all bring together some amazing people from across the industry, great, agents, some of our big customers, some of folks that we just, again, we bring a team that wants to learn and listen and try to understand what are those priorities for
Yeah.
you all and their businesses going into the new year, because we don't exist without the same customers and agents that you all have. And the only way we're going to service them better in 2026 is if we're listening to what their needs are. And there's just no better place in January to be than at Energize as an opportunity to start the year off right.
Love it. Now, for everyone coming to Energize and going to be interacting with your team, is there anything that you really hope agents come up and ask about of your team? Like, what do you want them to ask your team? Is there a new tech, a new part of Certified that you're really excited about, even for existing clients? Like, what do you hope the conversations are like at the sponsor table?
Yeah. It's funny. I obviously get to a lot of events, and this past year, we've heard a lot of like, oh, God, you're the best at fraud prevention, but what else are you going to do, or could you do, or where are you going to take this thing? Well, I can tell you 2026 is the year that like we're going to fulfill all of the buts. And so, come and ask about how we are more than just fraud prevention, and yet we're the best at fraud prevention. So we are going to build upon this foundation of keeping every single buyer, every single seller, every single party in the transaction safe and secure. And you as a company aware and notified if any signal senses that something's gone wrong. And
Yep.
while we're doing that, we're going to start to completely streamline that workflow for those interactions between your clients and your business. And some of the big ones that we've talked about recently and that you can come take advantage of today are like, we have a fully autonomous payoff ordering product now that's like unbelievable for the customers who are taking advantage of it today. We're about to release our DocuSign integration and streamlining some of those components of being able to interact more seamlessly with our customers through e-signing. And so you're going to see us have this like continued evolution of fraud prevention in the agentic age, but you're
Yep.
also going to see us do it in a manner where it's streamlining your own workflows and your customers' workflows. And I just think we're going to make some magic happen next year.
It's awesome, man. I can't wait. So, on a fun note, as we kind of bring the plane in for a landing, if your team had to describe you with one word, what would that word be?
My team had to describe me with one word. This is a tough one, man. Throw this at the end, huh? I know you can edit this, so I'll give it a second, and then I'll give you a. Okay, if my team had to describe me with one word, I would hope it would be thoughtful.
Good one. I haven't gotten that one yet. I like that.
Yeah,
one.
yeah. I tend to spend a lot of time and energy thinking about how we can be really thoughtful in our approach as a business and my approach as a leader. It has a combination of not just strategic and ruthless, but thoughtful in the way that I tackle problems and approach our future together.
Awesome, man. Hey, listen, it's been a pleasure having you on. Thank you for sharing your journey. Certified as a massive partner to everyone in the title industry and the real estate industry to prevent fraud, man. We appreciate it. Your vision, what you've created, it's working. It's great. And some of what you're talking about, what you've rolled out, I've seen some of that in action. It's pretty awesome, right? In this new age of AI. So
Yeah.
overall, thank you. Thanks for the sponsorship. And we appreciate you and your team.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for the partnership. It's been fantastic, and we're looking forward to doing some great things together in 2026.
Absolutely, man. Take care. Have a great holiday season.
All right, you too. Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks. Bye.
See you.